Okay, let's start with a question. As we head into 2025, what if the stars held a kind of personalized map for you? A way to unlock your potential, navigate challenges, specifically looking at how your inner drive, meets the outside world.
That's a great way to frame it.
Welcome, everyone. We're doing a deep dive today into the astrological forecast for men who have Aries rising and a Leo sun, specifically for 2025.
And it's such a dynamic combination to kick things off with. You've got Aries rising, that's your immediate interface, right? How you hit the ground running, action-oriented, pioneering.
Maybe first impression energy.
Exactly. And then, boom, you have the Leo sun at the core. That's your fundamental identity, your creative fire, that need for expression, for recognition, leadership, too.
It creates this powerful archetype, doesn't it? Almost like a warrior king.
That's a perfect description. Yeah, the warrior king. Courageous, expressive, leaves from the heart.
Right. And look, this isn't about just, abstract stargazing. Our mission here is to really shed some light on the key themes for this specific combination in 2025. We want to give you practical insights. Where are the opportunities, what challenges might pop up?
Think of it less like a prediction and more like understanding the currents, helping you navigate your year with more intention.
Exactly. So you can use this information actively.
And it's really for, any man with this signature who's looking to level up.
Level up, yeah. Or maybe take on more responsibility.
For sure. Or learn from experience instead of just reacting. Seeking deeper purpose, maybe. Embodying more wisdom. It applies across the board.
So it's relevant wherever you are on your path. Okay, so give us a preview. What are the big themes for these warrior kings in 2025?
Well, we're seeing a really significant interplay, like a dialogue, between some deep inner work, a kind of reckoning, and this powerful urge for outward expression.
Inner meets outer.
Precisely. Leadership styles are definitely getting a look over, maybe redefined. Relationships, they're up for recalibration too. And crucially, there's this big invitation to integrate those shadow aspects, the less conscious stuff.
To find more authentic power.
That's the goal. Real authentic power, not just bravado.
Okay, let's unpack that. Starting with the Aries rising, that tip of the spear, as you called it. What's the essence of having Aries as your rising sign?
Fundamentally, the Aries ascendant is your approach, your initial thrust into life, the energy you lead with. It's direct. It's got this sense of urgency, often a strong physical presence or vitality.
Right, it's just doing.
Yeah, that inherent drive to be, to initiate, to move forward, lots of courage usually, that pioneering spirit. They're often the ones acting first, figuring it out later. Natural innovators.
Sounds like a really potent force, that immediate impulse. So how does this energetic spearhead interact with 2025 specifically?
Okay, this is where it gets interesting. In 2025, that Aries ascendant, which rules your sense of self, how you express identity, even your physical body, it's getting highlighted significantly. Some sources point to potential eclipses activating that first house, the house of Aries itself.
Eclipses, okay, those always mean big shifts, right? Potentially disruptive.
They often correlate with, fated feeling events, sudden insights, unexpected new chapters that kind of push you onto a new track.
So for these men,
activating the first house could trigger pretty major shifts in how they see themselves, how they present themselves, maybe a sudden change in personal goals that feels destined, or even something noticeable physically, health-wise.
Wow.
These are moments that will demand that Aries courage, definitely, but also maybe a deeper honesty, a willingness to let go of old ways of being, step into something more aligned. It's probably not a year to shy away from making some bold moves.
So leaning into change with that Aries boldness, but you also mentioned Saturn transiting the 12th house in Pisces. That sounds way more internal, almost hidden.
It is, and it's a key piece of the puzzle. The 12th house is like the psyche's basement, holds all this stuff not quite in conscious view. Old experiences, unresolved emotions, patterns.
Just subconscious stuff.
Exactly. And Saturn is structure, discipline, reality checks. Suggests that hidden fears, old wounds, maybe subtle self-sabotage patterns could, bubble up.
Uh-oh.
And if they aren't looked at, they could potentially undermine that typical Aries forward momentum.
So the warrior suddenly feels hesitant. Or like they're hitting invisible walls.
That's a great way to put it, yeah. And this brings up a core theme for 2025, tempering that action-first nature with some real inner wisdom.
Okay.
It's about understanding why you feel the urge to push forward. One source even said, poetically, the warrior needs to consult the inner map before charging off.
So maybe feeling hesitant about a new venture, not for any logical reason, but just a feeling, deeper fear maybe.
Exactly, rooted in something older, perhaps unconscious.
That's a fascinating contrast. The Aries charge meeting this inward pull from Saturn and Pisces. How do you harmonize those? They seem kind of opposite.
That is the central work, isn't it? For
Sure.
Aries rising men in 2025, they might experience exactly that hesitation, self-doubt before acting, or maybe swinging between intense activity and then periods of uncertainty, even withdrawal.
Right.
The goal isn't to stop the action. It's about understanding the why. That raw Aries impulse can sometimes be action just for action's sake.
Hmm.
Saturn in the 12th encourages finding a cause that really resonates deeper, something aligned with core values, maybe even spiritual principles. It's an evolution, really, from a purely reactive warrior to maybe a more strategic, soul-guided leader.
Reactive warrior to strategic, soul-guided leader. I like
Right.
that. That's a powerful shift. Okay, let's switch gears a bit. The other half of this equation, the Leo sun, the heart of the signature. What's the essence of having your sun in Leo?
The Leo sun is your core identity. It's your ego structure, yeah, but also your vitality, your creative source. Leo energy just thrives on recognition, on appreciation, on having a stage to shine.
That warmth, that generosity.
Absolutely. Natural leadership qualities, loyalty, a really powerful creative engine. For men with this, it often means ambition, a tendency to take charge, definitely a strong sense of pride, and that deep desire to protect and provide for their own.
They're looking for their kingdom.
Exactly. Their kingdom could be work, family, a creative project, anywhere they can express their unique gifts and get genuine acknowledgement. That need for admiration can sometimes get tricky, though.
How so?
Well, if there's an underlying feeling of unworthiness, it might sabotage that need, maybe through self-deprecating humor or a reluctance to fully own the spotlight, even when it's deserved.
Interesting subtlety there. So the kingdom is about meaningful impact.
Absolutely. And that self-expression piece is huge. Finding fulfillment through creativity, leadership roles, anywhere their natural charisma can inspire. There's a nobility to Leo, right? A magnanimous spirit when it's healthy.
The stage awaits its star.
Yes. But the stage isn't always literal. It's anywhere they contribute meaningfully and are seen for it as partners, mentors, community leaders.
Got it. But there's a shadow side, too.
Of course. The potential for vanity, maybe, or an excessive need for external validation if that ego isn't balanced with some humility, needs careful handling.
Balance, always. Okay, so how are the 2025 skies influencing this core Leo identity?
Well, the Leo sun is getting some complex signals in 2025. It's really pushing an evolution in how it expresses itself. You've got Pluto still moving through Aquarius. Now that's opposite Leo, creating this really dynamic tension.
Pluto in Aquarius. Yeah, that's been a big underlying shift for a while now. How does that opposition challenge Leo's usual way of being?
Pluto in Aquarius is shaking up traditional ideas about power, leadership, even recognition, all very Leo themes, right?
Yeah.
Aquarius is about the collective, innovation, decentralized networks. That can feel quite alien to Leo's more centralized authority vibe, the personal spotlight focus.
It's friction.
Definitely cosmic friction, pushing Leo to adapt. These men might need to find new ways to lead, new ways to get that validation, maybe more collaborative projects, championing group ideas, less top-down.
So less the one king and more leader within the group.
Kind of, yeah. It's a shift in perspective. And that need for validation is key. With Pluto emphasizing the collective, maybe the validation sought changes too, perhaps even resisting the old kind of spotlight if it doesn't feel purposeful.
Interesting. Okay, so that's the pressure from Pluto. What else?
On the flip side, you have Jupiter moving through Gemini for the first half of the year, roughly, and that's offering some expansive opportunities.
Jupiter, luck, expansion. How does that help the Leo sun?
Jupiter in Gemini hits the 11th house from Leo. That's social networks, groups, future aspirations. So it boosts communication, learning, networking within those wider circles.
So new avenues open up.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Powerful new ways to express that Leo creativity and leadership. It's a great time to refine their roar, make it more articulate, maybe through writing, speaking, teaching, even using social media to share their vision.
Amplify the message.
Yeah, connect with peers, their court, in new dynamic ways. Intellectual engagement is really favored here.
Sounds very positive.
Yeah.
But we still have that Saturn and Pisces influence looming. How does that internal, maybe dissolving energy impact the confident Leo sun?
Right. Saturn is in the 8th house from Leo. That's the house of shared resources, deep transformation, intimacy, the psyche's depths. It's also the 12th from the Aries rising, remember?
Arguably significant, though.
It really is. And this can test Leo's need for certainty, for control, for that unwavering confidence. It might bring up doubts about their value, vulnerabilities around, say, shared finances or deep intimacy, facing limitations in these hidden areas.
Testing the pride.
It's a crucial test of the authenticity of that Leo pride. Does the challenge lead to humility, deeper self-awareness, or does it trigger defensiveness, ego protection? The real invitation here is to blend Piscean compassion, understanding, interconnectedness with that Leonine strength.
So the king learns empathy, learns vulnerability in the hidden chambers. That's quite an image. It really sounds like all these energies are pushing towards an evolution of leadership for this Aries rising Leo sun man in 2025.
Absolutely. That Pluto and Aquarius pressure, especially long-term, is forcing a shift. The old image, solitary king on the throne, needs updating for this Aquarian age of shared power, collective genius.
So not giving up leadership.
No, transforming the style. One source called it moving from a potential autocrat towards being a visionary collaborator.
Visionary collaborator.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, channeling that Leo warmth and fire within groups. Inspiring collective efforts, not just directing them. Embracing new tech, future thinking. It all ties into a more conscious masculine expression, doesn't it? Moving beyond just ego pride to heart-centered leadership, power with others, not just over them. That builds a more lasting legacy.
That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get a bit more specific. Can we talk about some of the key transits these men will navigate throughout 2025?
Definitely. So Saturn and Pisces in the 12th house from Aries rising and the 8th from Leo sun. That's the backdrop for the whole year. Major player.
And for the action-oriented Aries and confident Leo?
It really demands that inward look. It's a call for introspection journaling, therapy, quiet reflection maybe. It can bring up karmic patterns, unresolved stuff, offering a chance to consciously deal with any self-sabotage. It might even involve some necessary endings, clearing out old psychic clutter or issues around shared resources to make space. It challenges those defenses against vulnerability, maybe brings up anxieties around control or dependency. It pushes for deeper meaning beyond just status.
And ignoring it.
Could lead to feeling adrift or hitting limitations that seem to come out of nowhere, undermining personal power or joint ventures. But facing it, that fosters huge spiritual growth, deeper self-understanding.
Sounds like really significant inner work. Okay, what about Jupiter's journey? You mentioned Gemini first.
Right. Jupiter brings expansion, opportunity. First half of 2025, roughly, it's in Gemini. That lights up the 3rd house for Aries rising communication, learning, local environment, and the 11th for Leo sun networks, groups, hopes.
So lots of potential there.
Fantastic potential for intellectual growth, boosting communication skills, expanding social reach, connecting with like-minded people. Great time to articulate ideas, maybe write or speak to a wider audience, learn new things that fuel the vision, network actively, share that fire.
The key being
Focus. Avoid scattering the energy. Quality over quantity in contacts and communication.
And then Jupiter shifts into Cancer later in the year.
Exactly. Around mid-year. That moves the focus to the 4th house for Aries rising home, family, roots, emotional foundations, and the 12th house for Leo sun. The subconscious, spirituality, hidden things.
So the expansion shifts inward or towards home base.
Yeah. For Aries rising, it encourages building a more solid inner and outer foundation, home, family, feeling secure emotionally. For the Leo sun, it opens doors for deeper spiritual exploration, connecting with intuition, maybe uncovering hidden talents or inner resources, a pull towards nurturing the inner world, creating sanctuary.
Any potential pitfalls there?
For Aries rising, maybe getting overly sentimental or resisting needed changes at home. For Leo sun, maybe leaning into escapism, getting lost in the mystical without grounding it in practical action. Needs balance.
Balance again. Okay, and Pluto, still grinding away in Aquarius.
Still transforming, slowly but surely. It's hitting the 11th house for Aries rising friendships, groups, long-term goals, and the 7th house for Leo sun partnerships, key relationships.
So it's revolutionizing connections and future plans.
Pretty much. Pushing for authenticity in friendships and groups. Might mean shedding superficial ties, forging deeper bonds with a true tribe, finding where you truly belong, and contributing your unique gifts to collective goals, maybe using tech in new ways.
And for the Leo sun's relationships.
Profound shifts in one-on-one dynamics, especially partnerships. Old power structures get challenged. A push for more authentic, equitable connections. Resisting this could mean power struggles. Adapting means embracing collaborative power for Aries rising and real vulnerability and transformation in key relationships for Leo sun.
Sounds like major shifts in relating to community, to partners, to the future. And the wild cards, eclipses, you mentioned those earlier.
Right. The sources suggest eclipses likely activating the Aries-Libra axis.
Self versus other.
Exactly. For Aries rising, self versus the Libra descendant partnerships. So, critical turning points in relationships, needing to adjust how you assert your needs while honoring others, navigating independence versus interdependence. That can challenge the Leo Sun's desire for influence within relationships too. Breakdowns or breakthroughs both are possible.
Pivotal for relating. What about the other axis? Virgo Pisces.
That connects the 6th house work, health, daily routine with the 12th house subconscious, spirituality for Aries rising. For Leo Sun, it connects the 2nd house resources, values with the 8th house shared resources, transformation, deep psyche.
Okay, so practical meets mystical, personal value meets shared depth.
Right. Eclipses here could trigger needed changes in work habits, health regimes, or really demand integrating spiritual practice into daily life for Aries rising. Highlight that mind-body connection, holistic self-care. For Leo Sun, significant shifts around finances, self-worth, managing shared assets, or navigating deep emotional territory, spotlighting the link between personal values and those deeper transformations.
Wow. It really is fascinating how these energies all weave together. It's not just one thing happening in isolation.
Not at all. They're in constant dialogue. That Saturn in the 12th inward pull. It provides a necessary counterweight to Jupiter and Gemini's outward communication buzz. The insights from the inner work can then be powerfully articulated.
Makes sense.
And ignoring Saturn's call for shadow work could make those eclipse periods, especially hitting the 12th house, feel much more turbulent. Similarly, the Pluto and Aquarius societal shifts demand adapting that Aries-Leo leadership. Using Jupiter's gifts in communication provides tools to navigate those group changes or redefine partnership roles. Success in 2025 really hinges on seeing these connections and consciously working with the whole picture.
So it's about understanding the interplay. Okay, putting it all together then. How can men with Aries rising and Leo sun really harness all this, navigate the year with purpose?
The big picture for 2025 is this. Profound inner work fueling significant outer evolution. The cosmos is really calling for a more mature warrior king, moving beyond just instinct and ego towards more conscious, purposeful leadership.
Right.
It's a year demanding courage to face inner shadows, and courage to express authentic power in new ways. The challenges from Saturn, from Pluto, they aren't meant to snuff out the fire, but to refine it. Forge strength tempered with wisdom and compassion.
That refinement sounds key. How can they consciously use their strengths?
Okay, so channel that Aries initiative, not just outward, but inward. Bravely explore that inner landscape Saturn is lighting up. Use that pioneering spirit for self-awareness practices, confronting fears, doing the shadow work.
Use Aries' drive for inner exploration.
Exactly. Then, use the Leo Sun's charisma and creativity amplified by Jupiter and Gemini to communicate authentically. Share insights, lead discussions, connect meaningfully, move beyond performance to genuine expression. Apply those leadership skills to build solid foundations, emotional, material when Jupiter hits Cancer. Nurture family, lead with care, and direct that Aries pioneering energy towards adapting to Pluto's changes in groups and partnerships. Embrace collaboration, build alliances, foster authentic connections.
Those are really practical ways to engage. What about the potential pitfalls? What should they watch out for?
Awareness is everything. Aries impatience, Leo pride, they might clash with Saturn's delays or humbling moments. Cultivating mindfulness, patience, humility is crucial. See setbacks as learning opportunities, not failures.
Right. Don't let the ego get defensive.
Exactly. With Jupiter and Gemini, watch out for scattered energy, superficiality, focus on depth. With Jupiter and Cancer, avoid becoming too insular or letting emotions swamp practical needs. Balance is key. Pluto demands adaptability. Resisting changes in power dynamics will cause friction.
And during eclipses.
Be mindful of reacting impulsively from Aries or wounded Leo pride. Pause. Respond consciously. And most importantly, proactively engage with those 12th house shadow themes Saturn brings up. Journal, meditate, get support. Don't sweep it under the rug.
That's really valuable advice. I know the source material used some story examples too, right? To make it more concrete.
Yeah, like imagine that leader, used to being the sole boss, suddenly seeing their industry disrupted by collaborative tech. That's Pluto and Aquarius pushing them. Their path involves learning to share power, inspire a team.
Okay, I can picture that.
Or the impulsive young Aries rising guy who always charges ahead, then hits unexpected career or health snags. That could be Saturn in the 12th, interacting with his vitality or daily routines, pushing for more mindful action. These archetypes play out differently depending on where you are in life.
It really grounds these cosmic ideas, makes them relatable. A reminder that, astrology offers a map, but we still choose the route.
Precisely. Astrology shows the weather, the terrain. Free will is how we navigate it. This forecast is about empowerment, highlighting the currents. The outcome of 2025 rests on the conscious choices made in response to these energies. Proactive engagement turns challenges into catalysts for growth.
Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, what's the core takeaway, the central message for our listener?
The currents of 2025 offer this profound chance for Aries rising Leo sun men to truly integrate their inner world with their outer impact. The challenges, they're ultimately refining that innate fire, forging a stronger, wiser, more resilient masculine power. It's about leading with authentic courage. The courage to act boldly, yes, but also the courage to be vulnerable, to learn from the depths. It's about leading with conscious creativity, letting that Leo heart shine through genuine expression, building foundations that truly last, adapting with integrity, understanding yourself and others more deeply. Your greatest strength this year lies in integrating drive with wisdom, creativity with connection, ambition with purpose.
Integration and conscious evolution. That's powerful. So here's a final thought to leave you with. Considering powerful inner work being called for in 2025, how might consciously engaging with your subconscious patterns unlock even greater expressions of your inherent leadership and creative fire in the years ahead? Remember, brothers, illuminate your path with cosmic clarity.